The Winona Sports Network welcomes you to Thunder Talk. Thanks to Arcadia Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram. Get all the dirt from Mississippi Thunder Speedway. Direct from Dan Bailey.
Hey, race fans, welcome to another edition of Thunder Talk on the Winona Sports Network, 99.3 FM, and streaming live on WinonaRadio.com. I'm Dan Bailey. Welcome to episode 338 of Thunder Talk. And it's coming off a week where we celebrated a big deal, and it's going into a week where we are going to crown a king. What am I talking about? Well, the Dirt Kings Late Model Touring Series makes a return visit to Mississippi Thunder Speedway Friday evening as night number one of a two-night special. As a matter of fact, they'll be just south of the Minnesota-Iowa border on Saturday at Winnebago County Raceway in Decorah, Iowa. But we're focusing on the Friday night portion of the event, and I'm so happy and honored to welcome to this week's edition of Thunder Talk an individual who is competing on the series and has a name that everybody's going to recognize at Mississippi Thunder Speedway because he used to be a regular modified competitor at MTS. Chris Oertel, driver of the number 51. Chris, welcome to this week's edition of Thunder Talk.
Well, thanks for having me, Dan.
Chris, let's talk about the name first. A lot of folks in the area who maybe grew up at Mississippi Thunder Speedway before it was Mississippi Thunder Speedway, back when it was Tri-Oval Speedway, recognize your lineage as your dad, Butch, was a regular at Mississippi Thunder Speedway. As a individual who maybe would travel with your dad down to the Tri-Oval when it was the Tri-Oval, and as a former regular competitor at Mississippi Thunder Speedway, are you at all kind of looking forward to this Friday visit to Mississippi Thunder Speedway?
Yeah, most definitely. Like you said, Dad started racing down there probably in the mid-'80s. That's kind of when I remember the first trip going down there, like mid-'80s. He was running his late model, and then starting and got into modified, and he actually won the points championship there in '89. But yeah, we met a lot of friends over the years down there, and it should be a good time.
We're at that point where the Dirt Kings Late Model Touring Series has become regular at Mississippi Thunder Speedway, coming down over the past several seasons to enjoy the big third mile. And the reason why I bring that up is you, as a former regular competitor at Mississippi Thunder Speedway, know your way around the track, but kind of gone is maybe that advantage of being a former regular, because now some of those other late model guys have been here several visits. Do you feel at all like the time that you were at Mississippi Thunder Speedway, even though it was behind the wheel of a modified, still gives you any advantage against the rest of the late model drivers that you'll be battling against when the Dirt Kings come down for the Stars and Stripes 40 on the 7th?
Maybe. This will be the first time that I've raced a late model on the new configuration the way it is now. Mm-hmm. Back in '06, I actually won my first late model race there. And logistically, I got a little advantage because it's a little closer to get there from the rest of the guys that are on the eastern side of the state. But, we're going to have guys from Cedar Lake and Menominee coming down. They got a lot of laps there, too. So advantage-wise, I kind of know what the track will do, but it'll be a new ball game for me, too.
As you mentioned, a former late model winner, a lot of Mississippi Thunder fans recognize you as a modified racer, but now you're back behind the wheel of a late model. What brought about the step back into the late models for the 2024 season?
Actually, cost. 2 years ago, I went and bought a brand new car, and the money I spent on that car, looking back, I could have bought maybe a year-old late model and then making more money. That's kind of what I've been looking at. And up here, we don't have any local tracks anymore. And we actually made a call to Mike Seubert just to see if he'd be willing to sponsor us. And he said, well, how about I get you a car? And we were kind of blown away. It's like, really? Because I drove for him probably 8 years ago. I drove for him about 10 years prior to that. And that was a deal. He gave me the car and the motor and the truck and the trailer and everything. So this go around, he owns the car. Me and my dad own the motor and the drivetrain and the maintenance and stuff. We got to take care of that. So yeah, and we're making more money. So it kind of sounds kind of goofy, but them open modifieds, the cost is kind of why we drove towards the late model side.
So what do you feel about the competition that you're up against? I know I've mentioned this a couple times already. I don't want to beleaguer the topic, but the Dirt Kings have only had 2 races this year. It's a 16-race schedule. I'm not trying to put them down, but they've had 2 races early this year. They had a third that was scheduled, but that got rained out. So Can you size up the competition, the folks that you are battling against on this particular tour?
Yeah, I hope so. It's kind of a vast variety of drivers. Like on the east side of the state of Shawano, a lot of the locals ran it, and then when we went to Beaver Dam, there was a handful of Shawano regulars, but then we got some guys from the Plymouth and even Illinois. There was one or two guys that came up. So we'll see how things shake out. I mean, the competition, them guys on the east side of the state are just as good as the regulars at Cedar Lake, So it's tough. It's tough all around.
Has the class changed a lot since the last time you piloted a late model?
Yeah, the cars drive a little different. It's like you really got to drive them a lot harder than years ago, it seems.
And that's a statement you used to hear about modifieds, that if you wanted them to perform, you really had to be elbows up and you had to drive them hard. So are you saying that maybe the late models of today are driving more similar to the modifieds, or is it a completely different type of driving them harder?
It's a different type, I think. The tires that we're on are a lot softer than what we used to run years ago. The shock package, well, that's on any level, has really changed the game. And the car, I'm running a Rocket XR1, and it's a 2017, so it's nothing new. But the cars, that XR1 is really no different than a brand new car. So, and I've even talked to other people that they're saying, well, the 2018s were really good cars, and guys are kind of keeping those older cars. So that's the only thing I've noticed so far is, like, you really got to drive them in harder.
So this Friday, the Wabam Dirt Kings Late Model Touring Series Stars and Stripe 40 will bring the late models back to Mississippi Thunder Speedway. I want to give you, Chris, an opportunity to fill us in on who's supporting your 2024 run in the Dirt Kings Tour. You already mentioned Soybert Calf Ranches helping you out, but who else is on the car for 2024?
Well, again, Nasonville Dairy, they've been with me for 25 years. My dad, Butch's Service, Pancras Farms, Pops Resort. He's a friend of mine that helps out. He's got a place down in Florida. Country Wireless, Total Power Batteries out of Indiana. Ware's Machine, they've been with me for a long time. Wisconsin Homes, Sports Scene out of Marshfield, Miller's Sign and Graphics, they do all the graphics for me. Classy Auto, he's been with me forever. Tom Lois, Photography, Identity Custom Imaging. So yeah, we got a lot of great sponsors that have supported us almost from day one. Just wanted to mention too, this is actually our 50th year of racing for Oertel Racing. My dad started in 1974, and we've continued all the way through here. So
50 years. That's quite a celebration.
I think we're gonna have to have a party. Years ago, Dad would always have race parties, and he'd invite guys up. Like Rick Hauser and Carl Fensky would come, and yeah, a lot of the guys from down your way would come up to his race parties.
Wow, well, that is interesting here. 50 years of Oertel Racing. That is that's a great story to think about. I know we've been focusing a lot on the Dirt Kings, but we want to ask you what else you are doing with that late model this year. Are you picking and choosing other tracks? Are you calling any sort of a weekly facility your home? What other sort of plans do you have for this year?
Well, pretty much we're going to stick to the east side of the state. There's enough races on the east side that we can probably put together 30 shows. We've been racing pretty much every Saturday at Shawano. A couple weeks ago, we ran second. We actually had 2 seconds in a row over there. So the cars been pretty close. We went to Chilton one night. Seymour is going to have a few specials sprinkled through the year. Probably get down to Plymouth because Soybert Calf Ranches sponsors another little mini series down there called the Super 6 series, so we definitely want to try to get down there. And yeah, then all the Dirt Kings. The main focus is the Dirt King races, so we're going to try to hit all them. That's going to bring us to some new venues too that I've never been to, like Angel Park Speedway. They have one race. Sycamore down in Illinois, never been there. So yeah, I enjoy going to new racetracks and seeing new people.
Since you are focusing on the Dirt Kings Tour, let's take a look at that real quickly. And again, I know I mentioned it a bunch already, but 2 events into their 16-race 2024 Bam Dirt Kings Late Model Touring Series Championship. And you're sitting just outside the top 10. I mean, you're 11th, and again, it's only 2 starts, but what sort of results for this 2024 tour would make you a satisfied racer this year?
If we can get in the top 10 in points, that'd make me feel good. Like I said, being out of the late model program for about 8 years, and just be consistent. The first race we had at Shawano, we started on the pole, and we were running second, and the motor started acting up, so I had a DNF. Well, then the next thing we were down at Beaver Dam, never been there before. We started 11th, finished 11th. So, it's kind of a small sample size right now, but I think the car where it's at now is quite a bit better than where it was about a month and a half ago. So, but no, if we can be in the top 10, and we're actually considered a rookie because we've never ran that series before, so I'll be eligible for rookie points, and there's a little prize at the end of the year for that. So if we can win the rookie deal and finish in the top 10, I'll be real happy.
Of course, Nick Anvelink, who is basically Mr. Dirt Kings. I mean, it seems like I've forgotten the count of how many championships he's got. He's got 7. 7. He's got the current point lead. So battling up there and racing against him in a series that he has dominated through the years, I'm sure would be satisfying for you, and maybe dethroning him would be pretty awesome at one of these 13 events that are still remaining on the 2024 schedule.
Yeah, that would be. I mean, years ago, I raced against Nick quite a bit. He would come over in the early 2000s, and we'd run at Monster Hall and raced against him weekly, basically, in 03. So, I've beat him before. He's just like everybody else. Everybody's beautiful, but he definitely has his program top-notch, so...
Well, the Dirt Kings Late Model Touring Series coming to Mississippi Thunder Speedway Friday, the 7th of June. There are a lot of big names scheduled to be in this event. Tyler Braining Racing is scheduled to be there. He is 6th in the World of Outlaw Late Model Series standings right now. Former $100,000 U.S. MTS National Champion Dustin Sorensen is planning on bringing his late model to throw into the mix. You'll see a lot of the area, western Wisconsin late model racers, Minnesota late model racers, some Iowa late model racers, and maybe even a couple Illinois late model racers throwing their name into the mix as well. And Chris Oertel is going to have his late model there as well. Chris, I want to thank you very much for joining us this week on Thunder Talk. Can't wait to see you at the track with the big tires underneath your race car in the form of a Dirt Kings Late Model Touring Series entry. We will wish you the best of luck for this event. And again, thanks for joining us on Thunder Talk.
Thanks for having me.
Remember, race fans, Friday, Stars and Stripes 40 at Mississippi Thunder Speedway with the Bam Dirt Kings Late Model Touring Series presented by Arcadia, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram. Hot laps at 6:45, opening ceremonies at 7 o'clock with green flag action to follow. All the other regular divisions going to be hitting the track as well. So coming out for a family-friendly, fun Friday night at Mississippi Thunder Speedway. Remember, race fans, if you want to hear the entire discussion with Chris from this episode 338 edition of Thunder Talk, point your favorite internet browser to YouTube and do a simple search for Thunder Talk with Dan Bailey.
Tune in next week for all the dirt from Mississippi Thunder Speedway with Thunder Talk on the Winona Sports Network. Thanks to Arcadia, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram.